Hi. So in my last vlog I talked about something, pretty heavy, which I don't want to make, a habit of. I want to talk about things that are kind of, serious, but not necessarily make you want to cry every week. So today I'm talking about something that is very meaningful to me, but something that's a little less adult, I suppose. When I was 12 years old, I was diagnosed with autism, to be specific with Asperger's syndrome. Everything's been reclassified since 2012, so that everything fits into ASD, or Autism Spectrum Disorder. So basically autism means that you have trouble communicating and thinking and reacting in the way that people who don't have autism do. To make it personal, my specific problem is interacting with people and communicating with people. I'm an extrovert, so it's not as though that I'm shy. It's the fact that I don't know what to say, I don't know what's appropriate to say, I don't know how to communicate and how to react to people in, a human way. So for instance, if I'm at a party and I've just met someone, I will literally begin talking about anything that comes to mind. I won't think about, is that an appropriate thing to say? Or do they want to know this? Or is this making me look weird or odd? Because I'm autistic, I don't get their social cues. So in a normal way of things such as awkwardness or uncomfortableness or sarcasm are things that I don't necessarily pick up on right away. With a lot of work, therapies, I've actually managed to get into a position where I can function more normally and that my autism isn't as recognizable unless you're specifically looking for it. So while communicating with people is one thing that's an issue, the other thing is interacting with people. So basically, because I have this problem communicating and interacting with people, it affects me in my day-to-day life in a way that a lot of people wouldn't expect. Firstly, a way that it affects me is processing information. So people will tell me things, will give me a bunch of information, and my brain just won't take it in. I can hear it, it's in English, but for some reason my brain just can't comprehend it, meaning that I lose probably over 50% of the information that I hear. So in a situation where I'm working and my bosses will give me information or customers will give me information about their orders or even just about their life, it gets to a point where I can only take so much of it in. I can only take so much information, I can only hold so much information at a time. A way that I've found that I can handle this well is having kind of a process and having a system in place. It's when people will change things and people change the system and they basically screw up the system I have in place is when it gets problematic. For example, if someone places an order, say at my work, I'm a barista, so say they place an order of a latte with 2 sugars and an extra shot, so they pay for that, I get to work on that. Then as I'm starting that, oh hey, can I have caramel? And while I'm like, yes, you can have caramel, the extra shot might go out of my mind, or the 2 sugars might go. Because they didn't order the caramel at first, when they ordered the rest of the drink, it sort of just screws up the way my mind's thinking. And I literally will stand there for 5 seconds and think, what the hell do I do now? My brain will literally kind of freeze for a moment. So then I have to kind of gather my bearings and go, okay, so this is what I'm making and this is how I have to make it, and I go through the process. So now what happens when I get overwhelmed, if there's a lot of orders, or if people are kind of putting a lot of pressure on me, or even if I'm just kind of stressed before work and then there are little stresses that come at me, my brain will start to shut down. In a way, and some people when they shut down, they'll literally just kind of sit on the floor and stare into space, and I have done this, but for me it means that my brain will just stop kind of accepting information. It means that I'm kind of running around in this huff and I have no idea what I'm doing. It means that I'll be kind of trying to make these drinks and make these food items, but I'll be a lot slower. I'll have to do a lot more checking, and I'll in general be a lot more worried about how to do that. Because I'm high functioning, which means that I can walk and talk and react in a way similar to people who don't have autism do. People don't know I'm autistic. It means that they won't give me that allowance when there's an obvious disability there. It means that people will get annoyed at me, they'll get grumpy, and they won't understand. Even people who do know I have autism keep forgetting that certain allowances need to be made, that certain processes need to be made, that you can't just throw a bunch of information at me and then it'll all be okay. So when any of this happens, I get stressed and I shut down. But of course, when you're at work, or even in other situations, you can't afford to have your mind basically shut down on you. means it's even more stressful, because it means that I've pretty much just forgotten how to function in society while I'm in a position where I have to do something quickly and accurately. And of course this affects me with my filmmaking as well. When you're making a film, there are so many different elements. You've got to direct the actors, you've got to direct the camera, and you've got to make sure the camera and lighting work and the actors work and that they know their lines and that they're meeting their marks, and that you're on time, and all these different certain things that come into play. Because I can only focus on a bunch of things at once, I start to get overwhelmed because you've got all these different things coming at you. And when you're a director, everyone will look at you for what to do. It's what do we do now? And sometimes the answer is, I don't know. I don't know what I need to do next to get this film done, which is very frustrating for everyone. But of course it's more frustrating for me because I'm in this position where I'm stressed. I don't know what I'm doing. And it's a position where I literally just want to kind of walk out and not have to deal with that situation anymore. But being an adult is that you can't do that. So basically what I'm trying to say is being an autistic adult is quite difficult, especially when people don't understand. A big thing that kind of neurotypicals and people who don't have autism can do is be more educated, have more understanding, try to look for signs of what autism is, know what autism is. Whenever I went for a job interview or I meet friends and I have to explain to them that I'm autistic, I have to literally explain what autism is and how it works, and how that even though I seem like I'm completely normal, I'm not. And my brain is literally wired in a completely different way. And I think the stigma around autism and even mental, conditions and illnesses in general is why society doesn't understand, why we don't put in the effort to find out more about these things. It makes the lives of people who have autism a lot easier to live. And it makes the people who have to interact with them as well have an easier experience. A lot of people say that autism doesn't define me, that it's not who I am, but in fact it is who I am. Because while I've named a lot of kind of disbenefits to having autism, there are a lot of benefits as well. The reason I'm so creative and I kind of think in that way that I can make films and take photographs and think in this unique and insightful way is because of my autism. If I wasn't autistic, I don't think I could make films the way I do. I don't think I could make art the way I do. I don't think I would have my extreme level of extrovertedness and outspokenness that has allowed me to reach the audience that I have. For someone who struggles in this way, accomplishing the things I have accomplished is something that's really amazing. And other people have picked up on that, and that is something that's truly amazing. Anyone who watches my films and say I've done a great job means that little bit extra because of how I've struggled. I just kind of wanted to explain kind of a bit how my brain works and a bit more about who I am. It's something that I never really used to talk about, but the truth is there's nothing to be ashamed about being autistic, whether you're high functioning or not. It's a condition and it has pros and cons, but usually I think people with autism are just that slightly extra bit special, and that is the way we can make our mark in the world. That we can do things that are amazing. And keeping that in mind, with that little extra bit of understanding, I think it will help change the way we think about it, and it will help us improve the world in a positive way, even if it's just one person at a time. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say on this topic. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for watching my films, and I'll see you next time. Bye!